Hey guys, this is test 48 game 4. This is the folk and rock stages game with the performances. This is an ordering game because we're placing the six groups in order from 6, 8, 10, and 12 on either north or south. So we're assigning them to a stage and then place them in order 6 through 12 essentially. Now I've laid out a lot of rules here. I'm going to explain all of those. We got the three folk groups GHL, the three rock groups PQT. We've got the two stages north and south with 6, 8, 10, and 12 on each. Because north is only 6, 8, 10, I've put an X on north 12, and because south is only 8, 10, 12, I've put an X on 6 here. Now they tell us that P is either 6 or 12, so I put P//P on 6 and 12. We've got G before H, so I put G-H here. We've got, if any rock group is at 10, then no folk group is. So either we have two folk groups GHLs on 10 or we have two rock groups QT. I didn't put P here because we know that P is always 6 or 12. It's never 10. They tell us that L and T are on different stages. So L and T are one of them's on north, one of them's on south. I reserved one of them for each of the rows here. And finally, Q is after one of the folk groups, although not necessarily on the same stage. So I just put a box around them with left and right. And I'm going to remember that it's left and right here. If you want to, represent the idea that they could still be on different stages, you could put a little, N/S next to each of those if you like, just to represent that. I'm not going to bother though. Anyway, this is a pretty bare bones, simple initial setup for the game. We'll do a little bit more work over the course of the game drawing diagrams, but it really won't be that much trouble. So question number 18 is a typical orientation question. We just want to take one rule at a time and apply that rule to all 5 choices looking for violations. Of course, what makes this a little bit difficult is that they are only giving us half of the diagram. They're only giving us the north level, not the south level. So for that reason, we have to imagine the south level in order to get through all of this, but we'll still get pretty far. We know that L and T have to be on different stages. We have that diagrammed right here. So any choice mentioning both L and T or mentioning neither L or T will have to be wrong. So B and C, neither of those mentions L or T, meaning that in those diagrams, L and T would both be on the south stage, which is unacceptable, so B and C are both gone. And of course, D mentions both L and T, which is unacceptable, so that's gone as well. We're down to A and E. So we could use some of the other rules here. It's a little bit tough to see everything, of course, because they're only giving us half the diagram, but we do know that choice E with Q on 8, because remember, north is 6, 8, 10, isn't going to work, because if we had Q on north 8, we would have to have one of GHL coming immediately before it, but choice E has P there. So imagine Q was here and L was here, then we had P here. That would be unacceptable. How could we satisfy this rule? There's no room because there's only one thing on 6. There's no room for the GHL to be on south 6 because there is no south 6 stage there. So for that reason, E is unacceptable, leaving A by elimination for number 18. Next, number 19, what must perform earlier than 10? They say, we scan through the choices here. Of course, P could be on either 6 or 12, at least it seems, so we could eliminate D for that reason. Next, if you were to just run through the choices here, you see, G going earlier than 10. Is that a must? Well, G could never be on 12 due to the fact that H has to come after it. So for that reason, we know G can't be on 12, but could G be on 10? Well, if G was on 10, either place that it went, whether it was G north, 10 north, or 10 south, we would have to have H coming after it on 12. Now, since G is on 10, we know that H and L will also have to be on 10. H is already on 12, leaving L to go here on 10. Now, we know that Q comes immediately after a folk, but the folks are clustered on 10 and 12. So Q could not possibly come later than either of them. It will have to come earlier on 6 or 8. So we can't possibly satisfy this rule when G is on 10. Therefore, G can never be on 10 either. It has to be on either 6 or 8. So yes, G is coming earlier than 10. So for that reason, A is our answer to number 19. Next, number 20, what could be on 6? We actually have previous work here to help us out. We saw back in question 18 the correct answer, choice A, had G on 6. Therefore, we know it's possible for G to be on 6, and A is our answer to 20. There are a couple others that can be eliminated pretty easily. we know that H cannot be 6 due to the fact that G is before it, so for that reason, B is gone, and D can also be eliminated due to the fact that Q is always immediately after a folk, so for that reason, Q can never be on 6 because then the folk could not come earlier than it. So D is gone as well, so you can get rid of a couple pretty easily there, but again, A we do have proof of from question 18, choice A. Next, number 21, if Q's on 12. So if Q's on 12, we automatically know that P is going to have to be on 6, since P always has to go on either 6 or 12. Now, Q has to have a folk immediately coming before it, and the folks are G, H, and L. Of course, it can't be G on 10 due to the fact that H has to come after it at some point. So we're going to have H and L interchangeable on 10. We have P on 6, so we're going to have G and T interchangeable on 8. Again, top, bottom doesn't make a huge difference, not a huge deal. Again, of course, keep in mind that L and T, one of them's north, one of them's south. They can't be on the same stage. So now they're asking us what could be the accurate ordering of the performances from first to last on the north stage. So the north stage has P, G/T, H/L. I'll draw that on the side here. P, G/T, H/L. And remembering, of course, that only one of L or T will be on top, the other one of them will be on bottom. So we scan through the choices. Automatically, of course, we can eliminate A because it has G on 6 rather than P on 6. So A is gone off the bat. We know that G has to go before H, of course. So for that reason, H cannot be on 8. We're going to have H on 10 here. So for that reason, B is gone as well. We know that L and T cannot be together, so choice E is gone. And we're now down to C and D. Of course, we know that we're going to have one of HL on 10. C has G there, unacceptable. C is gone, leaving D as our answer for number 21. Next, number 22, if we had a rock group at 10. So our rock groups that could be on 10 are Q and T. Remember, of course, that P has to go on 6 or 12. So I've got Q/T on 10, and then T/Q on 10 as well. Now, we know that we have to have a folk coming immediately before it because Q's on 10 no matter what, and when Q's, wherever Q is, we have a folk immediately before it. That would be on 8, so right away, B is our answer to 22.